Yo, what's going on, guys? Teen Mechanic here. Today I'm going to show you guys how to replace your valve cover gasket because it might be leaking. That's the case with this one. Now, I just got this 2008 Ford Focus SES. The trim level doesn't really matter. It confuses me all over the place. So this one is unfortunately experiencing some oil in the spark plug wells down in there. I'll show you what I mean later, but you might have one that has sweating and leaking around the sides, or maybe even it's leaking from the back and you're getting oil on the exhaust manifold and it's smoking and creating a burning oil kind of gas fume kind of thing. So if you're experiencing any of those symptoms, then I am going to show you how to replace the gasket. Now, I already have a gasket for it, and I'm going to show you every single step on how to do it. So it's actually quite simple, and it doesn't require very many tools or know-how, quite frankly. Okay, now getting into the first steps here. The first thing that you need to do when you're doing this is usually if you have a vehicle with, like, let's say you have a V6 or a V8, like this car has a V8. If you do have an engine that has two heads, i.e. two valve covers, then sometimes it's kind of at an angle, so there could be oil that pools up in it. So sometimes you need to drain your oil. I'm going to do an oil change on this as I do it. But let's say you've drained your oil or you don't need to. Like in this case, I don't need to. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to remove the oil cap actually and see if there is any oil in there. And in my case, I know there isn't. And you're going to look around and inspect to see what it would entail. This one is easy. What you want to do first, unplug all your coil packs. So these four things, this is a 4-cylinder. You might have 6. Let's say you've got a straight 6 or even a 5. Like if you have a Volvo, a straight 5, you'd have 5 coil packs. Or even, let's say you've got something like this that's older and you have a distributor mounted somewhere on the engine and you have spark plug wires that run into the engine heads basically through the valve cover. Well, then, or even sometimes beside the valve cover, you want to just go ahead and unplug them all. This one is extremely easy to do. You just unplug these electrical connectors here, and it's extremely simple. There are no tools that you even need to do that. And now you can actually go ahead and remove them. So here I have an 8mm ratchet and socket. Very simple to do. Just go ahead. Power tools help. I do have power tools, but I don't see the need to do it. Oh, and I'm going to apologize here. I didn't remember my tripod today, unfortunately. But that's okay. We can still get this video done relatively well. Now, I do have those bolts out, but more on that in a second. It's actually worth mentioning that it's not hard to find a gasket either. So this is made for mine. You can see with the engine label here, it says for 2.5s, 3s, and 2.0s. So this is for my car. All you got to do, call up your local parts store. Like if you live in the United States, it would be AutoZone or O'Reilly's. I live in Canada, so Parts Source or Auto Value, anything like that. Just any part source that, or any part stores that you have in your local area. Just, you know, give them your make and model and what engine it has. If you don't know what kind of engine your car has, you don't know the displacement, like 2.0 in this case. Just look and find a white label somewhere. Sometimes it's down here, sometimes it's on the side, sometimes it's on the hood, like in my case here. And if you look on the label here, look around, you can see it says right there 2.0 liter group, which means this is a 2.0 liter. Now that I have those screws out, what I'm going to do is go ahead and pull these coil packs out. So you're thinking, do you need some kind of puller? Well, no, you don't actually. With some BMWs, of course, German. If you have a Pagani Huayra that you're not even allowed to work on in the first place, that you're changing the valve cover gaskets on, yeah, sure, okay. You might need a puller. I have no idea. These, pull them out. Very simple. That's a coil pack right there. You don't want to get these mixed up. This one doesn't matter. You can mix these up. But, I mean, as long as these wires go back in the same spot. This, I'm not going to mix them up. I'm actually just going to keep them, anywhere, even on the hood of my other car here, which is a really bad idea. But let's do it anyway. So you just yank them up. If you do have a leaking valve cover gasket, then usually you could have some, oil in the spark plug well, which I do. So don't yank them out as hard as you can. If you have some trouble, wiggle them loose, twist them, but don't yank them out because oil could go flying everywhere. In this case, this is the one that has oil in it, and you can see this one is shiny and wet on the end, which means there's oil. So I actually don't want to put this on the paint in my car. I'll just go ahead and move it and put it somewhere else. Okay. So now that the coil packs are removed, you can actually look in there and see, some different manufacturers require that you remove the spark plugs. In this case, I don't have to. This is a plastic valve cover, which personally I find to be a bad design, but I guess plastic on an engine, just not my thing. Anyway, so now just look around and see if there's anything holding on. This is very easy to remove. You can see I think these are a bunch of 8s. I don't even know. Here, let's find out if this is an 8 or if it's less. No, okay, so that bunch of 8mm bolts here, or nuts really. And this one here looks like there's a bracket on the end here, and that looks like a 13 that's holding this on here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that bracket. It looks like it'll prevent it from coming off, so I'm going to do it anyway. Now looking in the side, some valve covers have a fuel rail that have fuel injectors going into the side of it or something like that. So, remove it if you need to. I don't need that in this case. Oh, and I didn't notice this here. This looks like it's some kind of PCV or evap kind of, I don't know, some kind of exhaust thing. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. This looks like a PCV valve here, and it has actually it can't be a PCV. That's the PCV right there. I'm going to go ahead and remove this, whatever it is, and because you need to remove all of the plugs, never pull by the wires or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and get every single plug detached. That's the next step, basically. Okay guys, so now I have detached every single wiring harness and pigtail clip that I could find. There were also these mounts here that just kind of stick on to those bolt or the studs there. There's this one here too, and those two. So those are on there, and also this bracket here that uses a 13mm bolt. I said, yeah, I went ahead and removed that as well. So now there's basically nothing holding this thing on. I removed this PCV hose, and I removed whatever this is here. I actually don't know, quite frankly. So I'm going to read up on that later. But so yeah, this basically all that's left to do is just unbolt it, and that's it. So now that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this 8mm. I'm going to grab this ratchet right here. Get the 13 off of there. Put the 8 onto there, and then we should be good, and that should be all there is to it. So actually I'm going to grab an extension because I'm going to need one. But yeah, so all you want to look for is whatever is obviously holding on. Sometimes there's 10s, 8s, sometimes there's 15s. Depends on what, gigantic semi or for, Honda Fit you're working on. Anyway, so that's an 8, 8, 8. So just a bunch of studs that hold this on around it, and I'm just going to get those off. Wait, before you get them off, I actually forgot to mention that you want to undo them in a sequence. These aren't very tight, but for example, if you're working on an engine head, you always want to either start from the center and work your way out, or start from outwards and work your way in, whatever your manufacturer recommends. In my case, I'm not sure. I'm going to look it up. I'm just going to, I guess, start working my way out, and I think that's what I'll do. But yeah, anyway, so I'm just going to get this off here. There's one here, and, 50 more. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so I went ahead and loosened every single bolt and got them out. I put them all there. Now, some of them actually stay in the valve cover, so if you can't get yours out, please don't try to rip it out. Sometimes you can actually damage your engine. So this one, for example, stays with it. So does this one. So, definitely don't force that out. Now, the other thing is, a lot of times your valve cover won't just pop off, so you have to grab a pry bar and kind of, try to force it off, kind of like that. Do not crack it. Lightly pry it. Jeez. Just a little, and do not force it off, because you can actually break or crack it. In my case, this is plastic, or warp it. There are plenty of bad things that you can do by trying to force it off. So in my case, I'm just getting under this engine mount here and just prying it like that, and you can see it's moving. So that's all you want to do. Very gently, don't jam it in there, because then you'll damage the head surface area and the cover surface area, and that can cause a leak, or basically will cause a leak. So now I'm going to get the cover off. Very easy to do. Work your way around, kind of start to just pry the gasket off just a little. Do not pry against fuel rails. Don't pry against tanks like that. Like, don't try to put it there and then lift the cover off. Don't pry against throttle bodies or sensors. Just make sure it's like an engine mount or the frame. So now I'm going to get this off. Okay, so I finally got this valve cover off here. And as you can see here, you can see all the internal components. So you have your exhaust camshaft and your intake camshaft. These here are called cam lobes. So as the part that protrudes hits the valve, here's a good example of one actually. That's a cam lobe right there. So as this top peak right here hits the exhaust valve for cylinder, I'm not sure if that's 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure that's cylinder 3. But anyway, so as that hits it, the piston, you know, it's all timing, and this is the timing chain right here, and those are the cam sprockets, or cam phasers, or whatever you want to call them. I don't actually think those are phasers really, but yeah. So now we're inside the engine, and what you want to do, of course, here you can see inside the spark plug well. So that one's clean, like I said. I'm just trying to focus it there. Those two in the middle are clean. And this one on the end has oil in it. You can see the difference there, clean, oil. So that's how I knew this was leaking. So if you look at the valve cover itself, I actually removed this off camera. Unfortunately, I shouldn't have. This here is actually very simple to remove. You actually this just flops down into place, and basically it fits in this channel right here, along this channel, and then you just pull it out. And that's the gasket itself. And we don't need this anymore, so that will go in the garbage. These here, if you look closely, you do see these other gaskets right here. So this outer gasket was actually good, but these aren't. So I'm gonna go ahead and find an awl. I think I've got one in here. Yep. So I've got an awl in here, and what I'm gonna do is actually get these out very gently, very carefully. Just kind of jam it in there, poke it until the gasket will actually come out just like that. So just get it in there and then get the gasket out. It's very, very easy to do. I can actually probably do it. Oh, there goes my hat. I can probably do this on camera here. There you go. We got this off. So that's one of the like interior gaskets that I'd call it. So that's a mini gasket. That one can go in the junk pile over there. And now we have 2 more to do. So I'll do those off camera, so you get the gist. So I got all the gaskets out. So a lot of people may be tempted to, maybe use a scraper or razor or something to get the old gasket material off. That is, I think, the worst idea humans have ever come up with, other than Mercedes-Benz. But what you should do actually is grab a microfiber towel. If if it's a head gasket or some kind of paper gasket, yes, maybe you need to use an abrasive sponge or plastic scraper, never metal. But in this case, this was a rubber gasket, so I'm actually just going to wipe the oil off from the surrounding edges here. Very easy to do. No tools required except for this towel. And that's it. That's done. That microfiber towel will never be used on paint or anything. So now that's done, so all you have to do is install this gasket right here. Very simple to do as well. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up here, and we'll get all the new gaskets out. Okay, now installation is exactly opposite of disassembly. So you can see I have these gaskets right here, and that's going to fit in like that. And you can just put it in like that, but make sure the gasket doesn't pinch or go in sideways or anything. It has to go in evenly or it will leak. So sorry for the framing angle there. Anyway, so you could actually put a little bit of dielectric grease in there to make sure it goes in well, but in this case, this just fits in so smoothly. Another thing I should mention is when you're putting the gasket in, don't push and then slide, because that can actually cause the gasket to move. Watch what happens when I do that. You can see how this gasket is moving, and you don't want things like that. So make sure you push it in and then pat it down like that. Okay, so this new gasket is in completely. It almost looks a little like RTV, perfectly laid out, but it's not. But it looks so great. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on the engine. Okay, so now all I'm gonna do is slide it under this harness around the engine mounts, and just definitely try not to gouge anything. That's pretty important. So yes, my hair is a mess. I need a haircut. Okay, my oil. The oil is getting out of my hand here. So okay, so if my arms are in the way, just kind of have to finagle it in there a little bit around the wiring harnesses, like this. There you go. She's on. Okay, so that was actually very easy to do there. I forgot my tripod, like I said. So that was easy to do. Now that's on, so all you want to do is just thread in a bolt. Make sure it threads in, which it does. So now you want to torque this down in the correct sequence. This is a brand new gasket, so you want to make sure that it compresses evenly and doesn't pinch or curl or anything of that sort. Okay, so I got everything torqued down, everything is in its place, everything is put back together, and that's basically all there is to it. This was a very easy job. It didn't require very much time or effort. This is actually the next day, because what ended up happening, actually I'm going to put these back on. What ended up happening was I had lost a bolt. What happened is this corner bolt I had lost down in the engine bay somewhere, and I absolutely couldn't get it or find it even for the life of me. So anyway, I just decided that, you know, I'll go to the junkyard and get one, and I did, and now every bolt is torqued down and this valve cover is on there. I went ahead and I put the coils back in, super easy, just reverse install. I plugged in every fuel injector, every coil, every single sensor that I unplugged, the PCV, everything. I bolted this bracket back on, so everything is back in its place. Very simple to do. So I hope this video helped you out. You know, if you're experiencing a leaking valve cover, I know, for example, if you drive a Jeep Liberty, the valve covers leak. The only thing is, you know, that's got a V6 in it or a V8. Actually, no, they didn't put the 8s in there. Anyway, you know, so now you know at least kind of the gist of it. Jeep Liberties don't have these coil packs though. So anyway, if you liked this video or found it useful, please give it a thumbs up, and share it with someone else who you think might find it useful or enjoy it. Down in the comment section below, let me know how I can improve, and let me know what you want to see. And anyway, other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned.